Oh boy, boy, boy. It's been a minute. Well, has it been that long? No.
Um, 2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks? I thought we had a guest. Uh, as we had Derek. We had
There we
no.
had Jalen.
Jalen was after Derek. So that and then that 1 week. So we only been gone
Oh,
for a
then I
week.
went to the film festival.
Yeah.
I went to the film festival, and then I went to the film festival, and then so Jalen was our last. It was no,
Yeah, I
because
think so.
I left Texas on the 20th.
Yeah, I think you were at the film festival before Jalen, right?
It was film festival,
Because then,
Jalen, then off.
yeah,
So it's
and
only
now
been
we're
two
back
weeks
on.
then.
It's only been a week. Yeah, we weren't on last weekend. Yeah,
There you go. I'm like
yeah. So, hey,
trying to.
um, yeah. So it is one of those things. If you are joining us, then we can.
Oh, let me join us.
That's why I like having the secondary devices because it makes it easy.
Let me see.
Oh, there we go. Let's see here. We are live. We're currently on. And then so it is one of those days. Oh, there we are. Yep. So how was your week, TK?
Amen.
How was your week?
I said, Amen.
Amen. That was it. Just amen. It was one of those weeks. Oh, my bad.
It's
uh
one of those. Like I said, I'm in transition,
huh.
and it's another like completion time to move to the next thing in regards to my living situation. But I have to find a place, and I have to figure out the next instructions because everywhere I've moved in the last 10 years, basically
Hmm.
God has specifically said, go to Crumb, go
Okay.
to Nia's, move to Sharon. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Hmm.
where we moving right now? So
Gotcha.
so it's been a lot of research. So sorry guys, I'm not able I wasn't able to do a PowerPoint, but we'll have good still have a good presentation over script stuff. Um, and of course, I'm always available for questions or anything. So yeah, so I'm really well. God's been telling me since I was in Austin that when I came back, I was going to be moving. So it's not a surprise. It's
Okay.
like okay, yeah. So cool, cool, cool.
Okay. Well, we are on. We doing what it is that we do. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and check in, and how we check in is easy. It's just simplest thing as is playing this little thing.
As simple as this.
Welcome to the Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. I'm your host Michael Melvin with my co-host Tamara TK Henderson. Jacoby Simmons cannot join us today, but the Black Filmmakers Lounge brings you the Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. In the Black Filmmakers Lounge is where independent filmmakers, as well as novelists and professionals come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss the industry best practices that will advance the Black interdependent film community. Again, I'm your host, Michael Melvin, and joining to me today is our host, Tamira TK Henderson, and we are teaching today. It's Educational Day. From idea to script is what we're calling it. What's up, TK?
I called it all things screenwriting. But how long have you been up this morning?
I woke up a little late. Yeah, I have gout, so it was a struggle going up some steps here and there. Why? What's up?
Oh no, you
I've
just
been
sound
off and on, huh?
you just like your energy level is like here, and I'm like, oh,
Oh well, I'm on the show now.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you gotta wake up for the
I'm
show.
like your energy
You
level
can't
is
even be
like,
like, "Hello, welcome to the or hello, welcome to the Black Filmmakers Lounge." You can't do that. You got to have that energy. You got to bring it.
oh, okay,
And
okay,
that's what
all
I'm
right.
like. I like, hey, I got to bring the energy because I can't host the show. Hi, how y'all doing? The people feel your energy and our laughs, our smiles, our giggles. They like having fun with us. And we're back for being out for a week. And I'm hanging out with my sister. A lot has been going on for all of us. So we are doing what it is we do.
Yay! And I just thought about something. I want to switch this thing around real quick.
Okay.
Um, no, we're good.
All right. So did you watch anything? Maybe that should be the question. What you
I
watching?
watched. I got in 4 episodes of Fight Night.
Okay.
I watched 4 episodes of Fight Night, and I finally watched the last episode of Supercell, which I'm glad I waited because I was sad. I was crying.
Oh,
I was
where?
like, but I thought she was. I thought. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't watched it, but
Right.
I'm like, but I'm excited they did get a second season because that show is awesome.
Oh yeah, it's a really good show. A really good show.
That it is a really
Um,
good show. But that let me tell you, 3 people in that show are identical twins to people I know. The girl Dion, she looks just like Tanya Randall.
okay. Oh, you think so? All right.
Yes, absolutely. Looks
Okay.
exactly like Tanya Randall. I was like, let me this did she fly to Africa? Let me see. It's- but
uh,
yeah, the acting is good. I love the young people. But yeah, Fight Night, I'm enjoying. I'm
okay.
enjoying the music, the editing, the feel of it. You know how they're making it
Hmm.
feel.
Yeah, I've only seen. Oh, I'm thinking I only seen 2 episodes. I'm trying to remember how many episodes I've seen, but as far as I know, I think I've seen either. I know I've seen one, but I think I've seen two. Um, I got to right before the fight happens,
Okay, okay.
so that I think that's 2 episodes, right?
I think
Uh,
so.
before
And I
they
watched I watched Nope. I mean
okay,
Alice. Alice.
Alice,
I watched Alice.
and how's you like that?
It was I liked it. And then it got into the overload of the Black Power stuff.
That's the one
Kind
when
of
she transitions time from being a slave to current time, and this is Kiki Palmer. Okay.
when it flipped, I think I don't know. I feel like became a shift in the movie, more than just a shift in the movie. When it flipped, it was just like it was interesting.
It shifts between sci-fi and universes and all
No,
that, or
no,
just story.
when the story. So when it shifted, like it was like really interested. Then he found it. He take it to the hospital, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden it shifts, and starts reading books. Like all of a sudden, and it
Mm.
becomes a Black Power movie with like extended dialogue.
Right. No, no. I mean, yeah, yeah. I can.
So the
Well,
flow of the movie kind of changed. I was like, So
sometimes you
yeah,
got to test things out to see if you can come up with a generic, not a non-generic story, but a unique story that stands out and that's different than what's already out there. Um,
yeah. Like I said, I like all the way. I like the first half of the movie. The second half of the movie, the flow changed for me. So it was like I said, it was just kind of. Hmm.
got you. Yeah. What did I watch? What did I watch? Um, Power, of course. Keep it up, Power. Um, I don't. I think we talked about this the last show. I'm not sure. The final season of Bel Air. final episode. Or I might have been talking to my nephew about it
Probably
because
your
he hits
nephew.
me up.
I need to. I'm gonna catch up on. I'm gonna catch up on Bel Air because I really liked it. I got to catch up.
What's up? Good morning, Derek. How you doing, brother? And Derek said Tulsa King. He's checking out Tulsa King.
Oh, Tulsa King. Okay.
Yeah, that's with Sylvester Stallone.
Hmm.
So I I started looking at Silo, but I didn't finish after the second or third episode.
Silo. Hmm.
It's on Apple TV. Um, it's been one of those weeks for me. Like I've watched stuff, but then I was with family. You know what I mean? With the stuff going on with
Hmm.
my dad. So, hey, I would like to just do this real quick. I'm gonna pay homage to my dad. I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for my parents and the advice and the messages my dad gave me. Um, there were mottos, there were words to live that I live by, and that I'm constantly moving forward. I don't know if he'll get ever a chance to see this episode. Um, he's in bed, and but I'm appreciative because I
Amen.
and here's the thing: I respect. I understand there's some people they don't have their dad's not around and everything, and um,
Hmm.
there was a period of time my dad was gone for the military, and actually that's what kept me from going into the army was he was always being taken
He
away.
was always gone. Hmm.
Yeah, when I was in elementary school. So, but from middle school through high school, which is middle school, is really your, I mean, elementary school is your formative years. I did spend time with him when we lived in Germany, when I was born in Germany. But when we came to the United States, it's kind of that elementary school. So I saw more of my dad, much more of my dad, um, pretty much from sixth grade on. So, um, but I'm so appreciative. I love that man, and
Amen.
things happen, right? And the past week, people don't know was the anniversary of my mom's passing. So I wanted to make sure that one, I wasn't just spending time with my dad, but it's bigger than that now, because it wasn't just spending time with dad. I mean, it just wasn't being there with him to allow the grieving process and all that. It's so much going on. That I don't really get details of our family stuff, but you know, and appreciate the people in your life and cherish
Amen.
every moment of it. You don't get it back, and I'm sorry, TK, sis,
No, you're good. You're good.
because I know you was with your dad, and this is the thing. The thing about all of us is we are family people. Everybody on the Black Filmmakers Lounge has been here. I Derek's kids. I see Derek talk about his kids and everything on Facebook and all that, and
Hmm.
you know, and so that's so important. But I told one of my nephews, hey, you can't make it to spend time with your grandfather. We told people understand your relationship is your relationship, and the thing is, you what you do is you cherish, and you are only you're responsible for what
Right.
you do, right? Because
Right.
sometimes people say you weren't here, you didn't do this, and you got to live with that. They don't have to. Actually, I tell anybody in my family, you don't have to live with that. If somebody don't show up and show out and do what they need to do, they got to when all is said is done, they got to live with it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, for me, I have the fondest memories of hanging out and being with my parents. I think God allowed me to go to San Antonio, knowing what would happen in my life, but to be with my parents for about 10 years and really just be there with them and hang out with
Hmm.
them, play checkers, chess, eat crabs, watch football games and talk and go to the movies with my dad and stuff. Because I had been in Maryland for such a long time and they had moved to Texas, and you know so sometimes you don't realize the time has been made for you. And if you just cherish it
Mm.
and do it,
Yeah.
it'll be just fine. Um, I don't have any regrets with my mom or anything. We spent a lot of time together. We talked, and she is always encouraging. The thing is, and I'll share this, and then I'll move on. My parents used to go to the film festivals with me, and people love my parents. Like some people were probably watching the show and was like, "Yeah, I remember," because I remember Tatiana called me and was like, "Oh, your mom, man, no, Michael." And we talked, and she said my mom gave her advice, and my mom would never tell me what she was telling the women at these film festivals, but they were like, "Tell your mom I love her." Every time they'd say, "Hey, Michael, how you doing?" "Tell your
Oh
mom I love her."
wow.
"How's mom Melvin doing?" And it was this the impact that my parents had, and I liked having my parents there with me. I was not really a person that needed accolades or approval or anything. I did what I wanted to do, and but my parents backed me. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
supported it, um, and they supported even more when I wasn't spending their money. So it was like, nah, they supported me
Right.
regardless. But like, they didn't have to lose things, But that's just how it was. But them going to the film festival, my mom went to the San Diego Black Film Festival. They went to the International Black Film Festival in Nashville. They went. Uh, we went to Houston to the expos, film expos. We went. Um, Man, we went quite a few places. I'm trying to remember everywhere we've gone,
Wow,
right?
that's
And it
awesome.
was just to
Mm-hmm.
have them there, and they've seen my work. I think the one thing my mother never got to see was my most recent short film for grad school, and
Mm-hmm.
I am because I was visiting in July with my dad, and my uncle was there. My uncle was like, "What else have you made, man?" "I've seen Broken." No, he said he never saw Broken, so we watched Broken, and then he remembered he saw Whatever Happened to Us, and then I did
Mm-hmm.
I Am. He watched that, and he was like, "All right, where's season two? Like, I need to see season two."
Ah,
And my dad said, "I
he
had
was
never
all in it.
seen this." Like my dad was
Oh
just sitting
wow.
there, like, "I have never seen this." And it was the version of I Am that I put as a long film almost.
Yeah.
Right. So we watched it all the way through, and just to get his response. And my uncle's like, "Well, we did go to film school. It paid off, like." And I'm like, "It always paid off, but it is what it is. So I just want to say, I dedicate this show to my dad in this case because I'm a mom on that, you know. So
You got to do
I
the thing.
appreciate you guys hanging in there, watching, being part of the family, and TK, my sister, and Jacoby. I know he's out filming, shooting sports right now, and
Yes.
we do what it is. That's the one thing about us. We're family. You know, that saying. There's a saying called "blood is thicker than water." You go look it up online. The true saying is it's telling you blood is thicker than water, but the truth is the people that go through things with you are your
Come on.
true brothers and sisters. It's not
Mhm.
what the family you're born into. But if you're born into a
Mhm.
family that's willing to go through ups and downs and go through life with you, that really are there for you, then that's a blessing because so many people get divided quickly within families because all right. So like I said, and you know what? Those are movies to watch, right? That's a movie in itself to create, or the themes within a film. All right, so we said today's topic, as I labeled it, from I did a script,
Mhm.
and TK will be training you guys today because you know what? It's September and school just started, and well, it didn't just start, but school's in session, and
School
we in session
session.
when it comes to school too. You know what I mean? So when you're ready, my sister, we're gonna get this moving.
I am ready. So I called it, like I said, he labeled it. I did a script. I labeled it all things screenwriting, all things script, all things script, um, something like that. But anyway, all things screenwriting, all things script. Anyway, just gonna go over some basic stuff. So if you are new to writing, or if you just want to pick up some extra gems, some reminders, we all take reminder classes, just the refresher courses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So just want to go over a few things, and we're just going to talk about some script stuff. So please put any comments or questions in there, because the way I learned to write scripts and what I've been doing over the last 17 years, everybody has a different style. Everybody writes different.
Hmm.
M Legend used to call me a technical writer. I'm like, yeah, but if I'm not a technical writer, then the stuff will seem off if the turning points are off and everything off, because then you can build into once you have the structure set. And I am a uh, 25, 50, 15 girl. So what that means is I usually do 90-page scripts, 90 to 100 pages, but my first act is 25 pages, about 25 pages. My second act is 50 pages, and my third act is 15 pages normally. I personally don't feel it takes 30 minutes to end a movie. Like
Hmm.
once everything happens, I don't think it take 30 minutes. That's just me. So in regards to the first thing we'll talk about is the outline of a movie. And we've shared this before in regards to the different software. There's software that you can beat it out, the Save the Cat software. And I'm old school and I do regular pen and paper when it comes to the outline. So I've made up like a generic outline that I use with my clients
When you're ready,
to.
you put that on the screen. Go ahead. Here we
It's
go.
on there, right?
Yep, it's
Yeah.
up.
Okay. So what I literally laid out, I have this is my generic screenplay outline. And when I write a script for a client or I go through a rewrite process with a client, I go through this outline, this same exact outline, and every plus sign is a scene, because I've learned each scene is anywhere from 1 to 3 pages. So these many scenes will take me to the first turning point or every turning point.
Hmm.
So I literally have laid it out. Act one, I have 5 scenes there. Act one is 5 scenes to page 10, which is the first turning point. There is a tone turning point at page 5, and that a lot of people use. I kind of let it flow into page 10 until the first
Okay.
turning point. Then we go into act two, and then our main plot points. Our main plot points, page 25, page 35, page 45, when we're at the center of the movie. If you read Save the Cat, it'll tell you it's writing a movie is like going up a hill. So you go up the
Right.
hill, and then you're at the top of the hill at page 45, and then we start going down. Once, if y'all can see my hand, once we start going down and start hitting the turning points at 55, 65, the all is lost moments at 65, page 70, you have the point of realization, and then act three kind of smooths out. So it's like, and then it smooths out.
I
So that's
see.
kind of how, huh?
I about saying, see, for me, I look at films
Mhm,
almost like a roller coaster. You got these
mhm,
little things that are, and when you have the trick ones, that's not a climax, but it's a plot twist that hits you and then it drops right down and gets you into solving that problem. Then it takes you up another plot twist. And then when you finally get to your third act, right before you hit your
mhm.
climactic descent, boom, and you solve the problem. So that's kind of how I look at writing a screenplay and putting the outline together myself. My outlines together.
Mhm.
But
And I'm going to tell you that the movie that follows this outline to a T, um, well, there are 2 movies I'll say, but one movie I watched that follows this exact outline to a T is Waist Deep with
mm,
Tyrese.
okay,
I watched Waist Deep. He got the phone call. Okay, somebody need to go pick up his son. Page 10, the son kidnapped. Page 25, like it literally. I was like, this is so cut and dry. Like if you want a cut and dry 90-page plot, with all the plot twists right in the right places, it
yeah,
literally followed this same pattern. And it was funny to me. I was like, it was funny to me because I recognize it because I write like that. But like I said, it's like this is structured, but once you get the structure down, you can always, you can add and embellish and do what you need to do once you have the basic your
hmm,
basic outline, the basic storyline of your screenplay. Then you can start throwing in everything you need to. The problem is we're throwing in everything and we have no structure. And then when you send it to somebody, it's like we're like there's nothing structured. everything is in there. And then that's, of course, rewrite. You're always rewriting, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to rewrite as much when you use a loose outline. And I call it a loose outline. I literally wrote a film straight off of this, because I at first I would like do a loose outline, but now that I'm getting, it's like as I grow, of course, as I write, I get better at it. This I wrote how long, probably 6 7 years ago, I wrote this exact outline, did it for a client. I wrote the first draft and I sent it to the producer for the film. I sent it to the client. I sent it to some other people, and I was like, "Where are the holes?" And they were like, "There are none." I was like, "What? Like there's no hole?" Like it was a perfect first draft. I was like, never in my life had I wrote a perfect first draft, but I did it off of
Mm-hmm.
this. And so now I like religiously use this thing because it if you do the work up front and you lay everything out up front. So every time I do a script now, rewrite whatever, I use this outline because it works. It's simple and it works. And it
Okay.
saves a lot of time on the back end because you don't have to be digging trying to figure out stuff because you've already figured it out on the front end. So let me know if you guys have any questions on the outline. I'm going to go to the next slide. Next slide. Pretend slideshow. Uh, all right, and this one is all right. So the storyline outline. The biggest thing is knowing your story. I had a client the other night. We went through his outline, and he knew his story.
Mm-hmm.
He knew his story, and he could talk about his story. So we were able to do a quick outline to get everything, to get a basic outline done. Because I went in and I asked him like an hour, it was like an hour and 15, hour and a half worth of questions. Because he hired me to come in and outline and just help co-write. And so when I was like, okay, I got a whole bunch of questions for you. And we went through all those questions and he was able to answer all those questions. And so we were able to plug stuff in the outline as we were asking questions about his story. So when you come to someone, have a have a loose outline of your story.
Okay.
Have Greg Ellis is my favorite client because when he comes, everything is laid out, like dialogue, everything is on a Word document, like just written like this. But it is, I mean, he knows his story. He knows this person says this at this point, this person says this, and this happens. So thank goodness he does. I'll be like, Greg, you're not gonna need me anymore. You gotta, at least he leaves me a little room to be, creative and add my flair into it. But he knows his story. Every story he has brought to me, he knows his stories. So shout out to Greg Ellis. But know your story. Know your
Yeah.
story because when you come to somebody, or when you're writing the story, or send it out for critique or whatever, people are going to always add and embellish and help a little bit. But your basic story, you need to know. So
The bones. Yep.
so now we're gonna go to proper slug line structure, which is something I see not done all the time. Um, proper proper slug line structure, and I'm going to switch screens here. I have a uniform change of location or time period. Let's go to the uniform real quick. I'm just going to show you guys this, and then we'll come back to that. So everybody, like I said, this is the way I write. Everybody has different things, how they do things, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the last time I probably say that anyway. But interior, Williams home dash JJ's room dash day.
Okay.
The reason why, and I learned this working with breaking down stuff with M. Legend Brown and Kelly, because what I learned, because of course I'm a writer, so I haven't broken down a script. So when I learned this, I understood that when you break down the script, and when you go to your Now I have to show y'all the breakdown. Hold on just a second. I just thought about it. I'm going to show you guys the breakdown in Final Draft. Everybody uses different software, but Final Draft is the industry standard, and that's what I
Yeah,
started on and I
pretty much
use.
all of us use Final Draft.
So
So
we all use Final Draft. So when you, and it makes sense for filming. So when you break down the script, this is basically what it looks like. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to pull this up for you
yeah, while
guys.
you're doing that,
What it,
I'll explain why we use Final Draft.
okay.
If you use Final Draft, when you have like Movie Magic Budget or any budgeting software that communicates with Final Draft, you're able to have the script breakdown within those budgets and within those scheduling software. You're able to plan out because that file is read. That Final Draft file is read within those softwares. And so you're able to start scheduling your scenes. You're able to find stuff and move things around. Um, I haven't found too many other software, and yet I've known that Final Draft actually follows the format to the T, like without mistakes on the format for any screenplay or screenwriting. So that's why I definitely stuck with it and use it. And if you happen to have kids or you're in education, you can get Final Draft cheap for an educational discount. So, and it's the full version. So it's not just an educational version. And you get locked into it. And then when you upgrade, you're still paying the same price as if you bought the educational version anyway. So, all right,
And there
TK.
you go. So basically, this location report basically looks like it would look once you break your script down. So I've
Mm-hmm.
broken this script down in cell text, so it's basically the same. So using those secondary areas, like I had interior Williams home dash JJ's room dash day. So as you can see, like when I break down a location report, it says burger joint back hallway, burger joint office.
Mm-hmm.
So this lets me know instead of saying office, back hallway, interior office, then it's like, well, where's the office? You know what I mean? To line it up
Right.
with your shooting schedule. It's like, where's the office? But if you automatically put burger joint dash office, then we know the office that we're talking about is at the burger joint. We don't have to go back and forth on each location through your whole script trying to figure it out. So
Mm-hmm.
making the uniform, that allows you, like I have all these scenes for Hill Home exterior, Hill Home bathroom, Hill Home bedroom, Hill Home kitchen, Hill Home living room. So instead of saying living room kitchen, you guys get it. So going back to the other slide, 1 second. I know I keep calling them slides. So making sure that's uniform. So when you form your report, everything is lined up. Change of location of period. A lot of times I notice when people change rooms, people change rooms, when you change rooms, that's a different slug line
Mm-hmm.
because it's a different camera setup. Every camera setup is a slug line. That's the simplest way to look at it. Every time you got to move the camera, it's a slug line
To a different location, I would say. Because
to a different room also.
right. No, no, that's what I mean. That's a different
Yeah,
location
yeah, yeah.
within a location, but like I may move cameras around in the same room for certain shots.
Right.
But when I move it
Yes.
from one location, physical location to the next, that's a different scene. Because I'm in the
Exactly.
living room and my character is walking into the bedroom. Well, the bedroom's a new scene. Because that's not the same location. I didn't move the camera. I didn't move the camera around the room. I moved the camera to a different location.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And time period. So time period, um, like I had one script, the guy was at home and
Mm-hmm.
then it said it was an action line full of stuff, and then it was the next day on the next dialogue. And I'm like, you can't do that. Like it was like you can't write a scene and then put an action line in, and then it's the next day. It was weird how it done. If you change time periods, you need
Mm-hmm.
to change whether it's day, evening, night. When you change time periods, you can if it's in the same day. So like For instance, the example is if some people come over for a party, everybody knocks on the door. Hey, hey, what's up? Y'all got the dominoes going. What's up? What you cooking? Everything in the kitchen. Y'all help yourself. They walk in the door. So that's a slug line.
Hmm.
You can actually just use the word later.
Right. A few minutes later.
You can use the word, you can use later, you can use a few seconds, a few minutes, but if it's later in the party, you can just simply use the word later. And I wrote that out on the sample slug line. You can simply use the word later, which I put right here. If you guys can see that, I'll highlight it. You can simply use the word later. So we
Hmm.
know that time has passed. The reader knows time has passed, and then on the screen, the person will see that it's later in the party. The audience will see that. All right, back to look, we're gonna make this work. We working it. We working our fake PowerPoint presentation.
Well, we
Okay.
could have
So
did
the
it
next,
where, yeah, go ahead.
amen. We working it this way. The use of continuous. So the use of continuous, I don't use continuous as much as I used to because of time of day on the breakdown. So continuous is if somebody walks, like Michael said earlier, from the living room to the kitchen or to the bedroom, that's a continuous action. That's
Hmm.
continuous. Continuous is not I'm in the living room and then 5 hours later I'm in the bedroom. That's not a continuous. But like I said, I use it, I really limit my use of it now only because time of day in the script breakdown. I want to make sure it comes up like it's supposed to.
Okay.
Action lines. Action lines. In an action line, you have, where's it? Oh, sorry, I put it twice. In an action line, which even if it's a simple action line, every action line after a slug line does not have to be four, five, six, which it doesn't have to be, especially once you've already established everything at the beginning of the movie. If you establish location, like if it's trashed or neat and clean, or, if you established what the surroundings look like in this particular house, you don't have to tell us what the bedroom looks like unless it's important to the scene. She walks into the bedroom and covers lay all over the bed. She gets frustrated. That's a frustrating
Hmm.
scene because now she's yelling to her husband, "Why didn't you make up the bed? That's the only thing I asked you to is make up the bed." Then it would matter that the bed is the covers are ruffled, or if it's after any other erotic scene or whatever, and you guys are trying to make a point with it, you don't have to put, you can put a simple slug line, I mean, a simple action line after the slug line when he comes in. Normally at the beginning, you brief description, if important, who's in the scene and what they're doing.
Hmm.
So I did have a sample of that for you guys on the sample slug line. I know Michael is just about. Oh my god! I know. You're a tech person. You're a tech person. Um, so this this is also okay. So go back to William. So an empty plate lies on the nightstand next to a fully made up bed. JJ sits on the floor next to a massive built Lego world set.
Hmm.
So that tells us as a little boy, he ate his food. He made up his bed, so that's already a special little boy because he made up his bed.
Right.
So automatically our mind clicks, because how many times, especially as parents, we got to go say, make up your bed, clean up your room. His stuff is done, and then he's sitting next to this Lego world set he built. That tells us so much about the character.
Hmm.
That tells us so much about the character. We'll go into character next, but that tells us so much about the character. But it's a simple slug line. When you write slug lines that are literally 5, 6, 7 lines, it by the time you get to people get to page 2 of your script, it feels like you have read a book. No, I know I'm not the only one. We're all filmmakers. We all know risk. It's like I'm only on page 17. Like I'm gonna take a break. I had one script I think I took a day break from. I was like, this is a lot. It was so much in the actions that um it was so much in the actions that it just felt like I was reading a book. Um so brief description, who's in the scene and what are they doing. So from the action line we'll go to character. Character. I write characters as I write characters. I try to simplify unless the stuff is extremely important to the scene, because you still
Hmm.
want to give your we all have ideas of what the character looks like, but you still want to give your wardrobe person, a little something, some like once you give them the kind of style you want, then they can kind of go from there. So this the sample I use here is Valentine. Orlando Valentine, 70s Hispanic male, dressed in slacks and a short sleeve button down with taco meat hanging from the top of his shirt, with a cigar in his mouth.
Okay.
That is the character description. Now, if I did not have that particular look of him having the taco meat, I have a piece and chain on him too. But if I didn't have that particular um, look in mind, I would literally just say Valentine, 70s Hispanic male.
Hmm.
And then, like, you have some characters, not every character is going to be described. You may have Sharon Hill. She runs into Sharon Hill, African American female, or just Sharon Hill in the grocery store. And it could be any race. It could be
Right.
any race, any person, any age. So not every character in your movie needs to have a full description or description, because it may just be a random person. She ran into Sharon. I don't care if she's old, short, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, black with an afro, Hispanic, with beautiful coils. Like it doesn't matter what she looks like. It's Sharon Hill she runs into in the grocery store.
Mhm.
So not
So
every character needs a description. Go ahead.
I'm about to say, so because like when you really think about it, that also opens it up where I don't know if you have another director who has a different idea for that character.
Hmm.
You're not, because the characters that are most important are your main characters. Everybody else
Hmm.
can be interchanged and shifted with something, but they're, as long as it matches what how their character is important to the story. Being an African American character may be important to the story, so you wouldn't want to change that character. Um,
Absolutely.
or the character being Hispanic. So you gotta. That's why you put those things in. Those, because those details are important because of the character. Whereas that detail wouldn't be important if we had a character named Terry and Terry is white and the dialogue is kind of written for anybody to be able to read it. It won't matter.
Exactly. Exactly. I had a pitch in Vegas, and I did a pitch in Vegas, and these producers were in the back, and they were like, "Are these characters African American?" I was pitching the Garter, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, "These are, but I do have other scripts that have different voices if you're interested." This story is African American. There's the Garter. It's about an NFL cornerback. Like this one, and the whole storyline is African American. You know what I mean? It's not a
Mm-hmm.
generic story. Um, but yeah, that was interesting. I was like, yep, these characters are, but I do have other scripts with different voices. So there are some scripts, you're able to flip. You're able to flip
You just gotta
the
change the
different.
name sometimes. Yeah, like I think about them Hallmark movies, Christmas movies that you see one
The one
story
I
and then you
told
see
you
the next
about,
one, the
Vivica.
exact same story with just different people of different colors
I'm telling you, the
or
one I
races.
told you about, Vivica, the one that
Mm-hmm.
had Vivica Fox in it. I'm telling you, that movie was written for white people, and they changed the characters and did not change the dialogue. I'm telling you, when you watch it, you're just like, I'm telling you, it's like you can tell. You can tell,
Yeah.
especially the us that speak, a different dialect. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
Accents and
Like,
dialects, yeah.
and you were like, well, remember you were like, well, maybe you just used to seeing Vivica as. Oh, I said, baby, I'm telling you. They changed the colors to make it a black, but they did not change the script at all. Um, so tell us what you can in an action about the person. If you can do it in an action, like I just said, JJ sitting in the room with the massive Lego set built. So we know he's a genius kid. We know he's a, you know what I mean? It
Mm-hmm.
tells us so much about the character. Um, if you ever seen Baby Mama, when uh, Tina Fey was that health geek. She worked for that big health company, crazy guy Steve Martin. Makes me think of Elon Musk. But anyway, she worked for Steve Martin, and he was, she was always trying to get on his good side, but she was a health fanatic, and she took Amy Poehler's character in because to be a surrogate for her to get pregnant, so she can have a child because she was
Mm-hmm.
getting older. And she fixed her this full meal, and she sat down and she's like, eat this. And she's like, what is it? I don't want it. She's like, eat it. And she takes it. And so there's a cup. And she's like, drink this. And so she drinks it and she spits it out instantly. She spits it out. And she's like, oh my God, it's the most disgusting thing I ever drank. What is this? And Tina Fey says water.
Well, yeah.
I was like, this is an example I picked up at a conference, and she was like, "You tell your character one action and this." I was like, "How?" She showed that scene, and I died because I had seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh my God!" Anyway, that was like so brilliant to me. So keep them uniform. Always keep the characters uniform. Don't put first and last name and then or Mr. Hill or Chris Hill and then Chris and then it
Mm-hmm.
when you do the breakdown, it just messes everything up. And you'll see that on the report as well, on your character report. So make sure your characters are uniform. Check that character report once you're finished writing your first draft, to make sure everything is uniform in regards to the names, as well as the slug lines. Like I said, you put it on the breakdown, it's going to tell you everything that's out of place.
Yep.
Quirks. So quirks. The easiest example of a quirk is Poetic Justice. Joe Torre's character. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
he was always brushing his hair. He was always brushing his hair. It can be simple as somebody always looking at their teeth, or somebody always applying their lip gloss. Somebody always getting hot flashes. Um, if you've seen, I did see All You Can Eat at Earl's, Supreme's All You Can Eat at Earl's All You Can Eat.
Okay. I haven't seen that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's on Hulu. Like she was going through some health changes, and she was always hot. She was always, especially when you're writing for a certain character, menopause. You got
Mm-hmm.
women 45 and up, 40, 52, people going through menopause, men going through midlife, or, just anything that, when you know your character and you see your character, it's like, oh, my character does that. Or my character doesn't drink. My character loves wine. My
Right.
character is addicted to Pepsis. Every time you see it, she got a Pepsi or a coffee, or. So quirks about your characters, and have fun with it.
Yeah. Those
They don't have
quirks
to be serious.
reveal other things and also affect how they make decisions or the things that they do or won't do. If you look at, remember Jack Nicholson at As Good as It Gets, he would not walk
I was,
he because he was obsessive compulsive. He wouldn't walk on cracks or the split or
yes.
concrete, so he had to walk a certain way. By the end of the movie, that changed because he changed or his dynamics changed, right? So that's the thing when you look at that; those things affect decision making.
I was gonna say, As Good as It Gets is a freaking As Good as It Gets is so good. I own it. Like I think I bought it. I might have two of them. You see it and do it like, do I own this? And you buy it again. But As Good as It Gets, I was gonna mention that early, is a very, very good movie to watch in regards to character. As Good as It Gets is very good. So definitely check that out if you guys haven't. It's always at the thrift store. Um, I was going to talk about. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
uniforms.
Dialogue.
Okay.
And also in your action lines, don't put we hear, we see. That's all.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
laughing.
I know. I
You
know
look,
people
you're
do it. That's why I
laughing.
laugh. I
That's
know people do it. That's why I laugh.
it's
Because
all the
you and
time.
I have had those discussions. And when I see stuff or because I tell people, try not to tell the director how to direct the movie. Because if you're going to direct it, you already know what you're going to do. But if you're hiring a director, let them figure out what they're going to do to bring your story alive. Give them some play. That's why you're hiring them. So,
Exactly.
you know, some writers tend to do is put the camera moves no, like they don't tell the story. In actuality, people just want to read the story straight through without any of breakups or anything. Anything to take them out of the story is going to
Yeah,
take them
absolutely.
away from it. You don't want that.
Absolutely. And I learned early on in the conferences, they like everybody has a job. You
Mm-hmm.
describing every single thing, every single room, every single camera action. Nobody can no like everybody has a job. You're hiring people because they have a creative mind as well. So you have to give them room to play. Just like I mentioned, Greg, when he hires me, it's like I still have room to play. I still have room to add my inside jokes in as the writer formulating the script and getting everything together. You still give everybody room to play. So you don't have to be in over controlling over everything. Let creators be creative.
Like
Create.
I was thinking about My Block, and this is why My Block is a show that's on Netflix. I always recognize when people do this because when I direct or do something, I pick out the colors my characters are going to wear when they're in a scene together, especially if there's some type of love interest or I want to mislead the interest. Then you start
Mm.
picking light colors for those characters, so it looks like they're compatible. And in that, they did it with the male character and female character, where she one wore a top and the other one's bottom matched. The colors were matching, right? As if they were
Ah,
supposed to be together. And he started liking her and whatever, but it didn't play out that way, right? And so that's that misleading. But again, psychologically, we look at colors. So that's art design. That's your art department, and they're gotta know, hey, that's why we also do, when we do the script, we do all the stuff, when we're planning it out, we do the lookbook, right? Because we start picking out the colors for all the scenes and what it means and how this person dresses. And so we match those things up within our stories with our
mhm.
script. So
Yeah. So dialogue. So the simplest thing about a lot of people have have problems writing dialogue. Sharpening excuse me. I don't know what's happening to my voice.
oh, sorry.
Sharpening dialogue um, is really we talk in fragments. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
talks like an English paper. We have a certain dialect. Everybody has a certain dialect. Everybody talks in fragments. Some people talk fast. Some people talk slow. Some people talk um, in riddles. My sister is a person that talks like in riddles. It's funny. Like she looked at me one day and it was Christmas and she bought in a Christmas gift and she's like, "Huh, I should have bought you a large." Instead of saying it looked like you gained weight, she literally and it was like, "What?" I mean, my sister if I can write like my sister talks, I'm telling you, I would be absolutely amazing.
You have a good movie, funny movie on your hands.
I'm telling you, she is hilarious.
The
You
thing
about to
with
say something?
dialogue is most people who are starting out writing, they write conversations, right? There's a difference between conversation and dialogue. Dialogue has
Mm,
a point and a purpose, and there's other things built within the dialogue for a reason. Dialogue helps us understand what's to come, so there's usually some type of foreshadowing.
mm-hmm.
Dialogue helps us understand the conflict that is occurring within that's why there's dialogue, because there's a conflict within your scene, right? It's just not a conversation. There has to be some sort of conflict. What some people do, the biggest mistake I've seen, is they explain the story in a dialogue,
Mm,
right? So you have to Be careful of that, because when you start explaining what's happening or what happened that we didn't see all the time, it's kind of like, well, why didn't you just show us? And I get it. First time writers do it to save, or first time filmmakers and writers do it, save money. They're thinking they're saving money.
And sometimes, like I tell people, you can cut out a whole scene by one line of dialogue, but at the same time, you want to keep it in balance. So, like you're saying, why didn't you just show us? And then there may be some scenes, like you run across scenes, it's like you could have just put that in a line of dialogue in this scene, and that would have killed that whole scene. So it's really weighing out, if it makes sense to actually show it in dialogue, or if you can, show it in the scene versus throwing a line of dialogue in. It's really weighing it out, which works for the film. You know what I mean? Because if it's a whole church scene, like Fight Night did a whole church scene with extras and all kind of, it was a big giant church scene, and all he did was show that he was late to church at 9 a.m. and that they said he was going to do the roof. And so when I talked to a friend who was Jalen, J2, who was on set, he was like, no, actually it was supposed to be longer. They did the speech, and I was like, okay, thank you.
Right.
Because I was like, they paid all that money just to show that he didn't show up at 9 a.m. and that he was supposed to do the roof, pay for the roof. Like, that was a lot, you know what I mean?
I know, but
So,
even then, it kind of showed his relationship in the church, right? Because his wife was part of the church, but he technically really wasn't. But the church was using his money. They were relying on his money.
If I was to do that on a low budget, I would have done it in the parking lot with people leaving from the church. I wouldn't have did a full. I would. They had, it was hundreds of extra. That church was packed. That's the one you seen that one then, didn't you?
Yeah, I seen it.
Yeah, that church was packed. So when you think about on the independent level, the food, the paying of the crew, the cast members, the moving, when you think about all that entails just to show, if they were only going to show the 9 a.m., him supposed to be there at 9 a.m. and paying for the roof, we could have showed that in the parking lot when she's walking past him because she's mad because he wasn't on time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then the pastor could have caught up with him in the parking lot. So that's just a side note. But avoid talking heads. So if you can avoid, now you're going to have some talking heads and conversations. They stand in the kitchen, they sitting on the couch talking. But when you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages of 2 people talking, you number one, that's way too long. The scenes are way too long. And number 2, that's when you show people playing basketball, playing pool, cooking dinner, something, so it's in the middle of that dialogue and they're just not sitting there talking like this. It looks easy on paper, but on screen, it sucks. So, and like Michael, one of the things I think you were touching on too, avoid on the nose dialogue. Don't tell the whole movie through dialogue. But dialogue is exposition. Dialogue is to pass information in a film. You can do a whole film, silent film, subtext. We see them all the time, but it's to pass dialogue. Just make sure you're creative telling the dialogue, in the on the nose dialogue. When you need it, it comes out later.
Right.
Like he said,
to me, dialogue should prepare us for something that's coming a little later. Dialogue, it foreshadows, but dialogue should be where the subtext is built in, where we're seeing the character being opposite of what they're really showing us. If you think of John Wick, when he meets up with Common's character, and he's like, "Hey, John, you working, John?" Yeah. It's very short dialogue between them, but he's saying, "Are you messing with my mark? Like, the person I'm protecting, are you here to mess me over?" Like, and he figures it out, and then he goes after him, and that creates that. He didn't just say, "Oh, I killed such and such." Yeah. And so, and that John Wick actually has really good dialogue, and I think that's what, to me, it doesn't tell you every single thing, but it tells you enough to bring you further and further. And there's certain movies that are really good with dialogue, and there's certain movies that aren't.
Juno, Diablo Cody, won an Oscar, Best Original Screenplay, and that was her first screenplay, but she won it because of the dialogue. It was the dialogue. Like
Yeah.
that was the main reason why she won the Oscar. Yeah, that dialogue, it was teenage dialogue and all kind of, it was funny. And the girl had the hamburger phone and it was like, I kid you not, I was like, this is neat. It was neat. I actually got to meet her in person, driving for her South by Southwest. But anyway, yeah, so Juno was one. So it's a lot of good shows. It was another show I was watching. I can't remember right now, but I was like, dang, this dialogue is good. So we see a lot, yeah, like you said, it's a lot of good dialogue and stuff, and then some stuff is like, and the funny thing is about dialogue is that when we're watching it and it's wrong, it makes us like this ain't
Why?
something. You
Why?
know what I mean? It's like you're trying
Yeah.
to figure it out, but the dialogue is just thrown. Like it's like who wrote this? It's the, it ain't even the storyline; it's the dialogue. So dialogue plays a huge part because that's what we're watching the whole movie. Mainly is people interacting with each other and talking, whether it is through subtext, or whether it is through words. But repeating names, Michael. I don't have to keep saying Michael's name throughout this show. Like I'll say Michael from time to time, but don't please don't.
We
Please
actually
don't.
say people's names for a purpose, even when we're really having a conversation. Like when if your parents are reprimanding you, they usually call you by your full name, you know,
Yes.
and they calling you out. So that's what we got to remember. If you think about the beef with Eminem and all them, and Busta Rhymes like, "Oh, Jeffrey," like you gotta remember that when we say names, there's usually it has a real purpose around it. It's an alertness, it's an awareness. It's a directive. Like I'm directing it straight to you. It could be several people in a room. And, hey, Jonathan, look, man,
Yes.
I'm not going to be sitting here dealing with your crap. Or you can be like, yo, I'm not going to be sitting here dealing with your crap. It's just two people in a room because you're the only two people in a room. So who are you talking to? We already know who you're talking to.
Exactly. So I don't have to keep saying, so Michael, I'm going to go to the next screen. So Michael, like it's Michael's right here. Like, it's like, okay, I'm talking to the audience and I'm talking to Michael. It's like, I don't have to keep saying, so anyway, don't repeat names.
Right.
Use your subjects as much as you can. So you don't have to say, I'm mad at you. The person walks in the room, the other person turns their back. Oh, we know it's attention. We know it's something going on. That's subtext. That's simple subtext.
Mm-hmm.
Simple subtext is when somebody's sad and they're looking in the mirror for a whole 60 seconds. Then we know they're self-reflecting.
Mm.
They don't have to have a conversation. Of course they'll start talking to themselves. But if you look at a lot of dramatic, when I'm in my mind is so visual, I'm just looking at a lady right now staring into the mirror.
But you know
Because
what?
she's
That right there makes a difference because you can have a person who just stands in a mirror, and if it's not built in your story, they're not going to say anything to themselves, right? It's the look and the things around that person, wherever they are in the mirror, that tells you about them or what's going on with them, right? In your tone, your textures, all those things you're showing on screen. Where you have a character who is telling the story, is the first person story, and they look in the mirror, we're going to hear them speak their inner thoughts, right? Or if they're breaking the fourth wall, then you'll hear them speak their thoughts to the audience of what they're thinking. But again, that's and it has to be built into the story. It can't just pop up somewhere and then disappear and never come back again because it's going to look really odd.
Mm-hmm. And like what I'm thinking when I see the lady in the mirror is like she's just sitting, her head is down and she's just holding the sink and she's just standing there. And then all of a sudden she looks up, she slowly looks up into the mirror and she has this somber look on her face.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And it's like, we feel that. We feel all of that because we're human and we know what it feels like to be hurt or disappointed or, even in ourselves or other people, like we see that. So we're like, oh, shoot.
And that also
she going
leads
through it.
to, as a cinematographer, that also leads to how you shoot that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you may shoot it as a wider shot, but then you may zoom into the eyes to give you the feeling, the emotion, and you may cut back out to a wider close up where you're getting the mouth, the nose, and the eyes, but you're still cutting off pieces, or you may only shoot one eye and have a tear coming. I mean, it's just so many things you can do to play with that to give you the emotion you need, and nothing has to be said. But then when they are
Exactly.
talking, it's what they're saying, and kind of what they're saying either has to be so poignant that it carries you. It's like it hits it. It's almost like if they say something at that moment, it pierces your heart, right? It can't just be something for no reason.
Right.
It has to do something to the audience. It might make you laugh, even though they're hurt, which means they're wearing a mask, right? That's that subtext. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So it's so many ways, guys. That's why when you come together with your DP and your director and the writer, it's like so many ways of doing things. Um, Voiceover off camera and off screen.
mhm,
Um, so voiceover is when the person does not exist in the room. If
mhm,
the person is not in the room or house or any nearby vicinity of the other character, that is a voiceover. So if it's a phone call, it is a voiceover. If it's coming over the loudspeaker, it's a voiceover. It's coming through the speaker phone, it's a voiceover. Those are all voiceovers. Off camera or off screen is used if the person is in the same vicinity as, and you don't see them. So say if someone's on the couch watching TV and someone's yelling from the kitchen, food is ready. That's off camera, off screen.
okay.
That's not a voiceover. And then vice versa. So keep that in mind. In the same vicinity, off camera, off screen, not in the vicinity at all, is a voiceover.
I got a question. I
Mhm.
got a character, but they're not talking physically, but they're
Mhm.
talking mentally, and we're hearing their mental thoughts.
Then that's a
Voiceover,
voiceover.
off screen. There you
Auto-
go. See,
That's automatically the off screen, off camera is if it's another person.
person. There you guys go.
Yes, if it's another person that's
I
not.
mean, I knew the answer to that, but I
Yeah.
want there's
No,
my
no, no,
educational moment.
exactly.
Yeah. Because we
No,
remember
for
we
real.
did
Because
that
like
for
I say,
whatever happened to us. We had
mhm,
him, we did a voiceover where he was talking. You heard his thoughts when stuff was going down. And
right.
he was internally responding, but responding differently than he was internally. So
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Scene. So scene, purpose. Every scene has a purpose, even if it's a little purpose, but every scene has a purpose. Um, we just don't be writing scenes in to be writing scenes in, because when it comes down to cost and money and expenses, which we're going to get there in a
mhm.
second, it makes no sense to have certain scenes in if they don't move the story. Every scene needs to move the story in some way, shape, or form. Come in late, leave early. We don't have to come in at the beginning of every phone call and listen to the whole phone call unless it's important dialogue being given, and then we can leave before they say goodbye. Like, we can show them on the phone, start the conversation, and then we come out the scene. Like every when the restaurant, they come to the restaurant, they get to the restaurant, they sit down. We don't have to show all of that. All we show is them in the restaurant sitting down eating. We have the
Mhm.
conversation, and then we leave out before they actually finish their food and leave the restaurant. So kind of some cut and dry plain that you see every day on, or all the time on films, examples.
I got something for you. Because I think about this when filming, and I would definitely when I teach my students, I break this down to them. Um, there's real world time, and then there's movie time.
Yes.
And I think most people, when first starting, a lot of people don't understand the total difference, because they're like, no, I would have this argument with my friend for like 30 minutes. Yeah, we don't, that's 30 seconds.
Woo, baby.
Like, and so you got to know that. And these are definitely beginner, intermediate things, mistakes people might have made in their films when we're talking about this. Um, a conversation
Woo.
that could normally take place between you and your family 15, 20 minutes on scene That's like a minute. That's like minute and 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes tops. You don't spend a whole entire movie just having this argument about your parents. Like, you're not gonna do that.
Movie time
So
is not real time in a few different ways. In a few different ways, because we also jump time. We
right.
also jump time in conversation and set up the time difference is what I have next. Set up the time difference is if you need, they went to bed and you want to show that it's the next morning, she's standing in the kitchen with a cup of coffee or making breakfast. We know it's a different day, we know it's a different day. So just something like a morning, something simple, a simple morning routine shows the break in the time.
Mm.
Makes
You
sense.
know what would be cool? And I'm just saying this. What if somebody made a movie and it was a 2 hour movie and it was 2 hour time period? Like you got 2 hours to get me my money. And it was the whole movie, throughout, and we're sitting there watching it as if we're film. Like I think that would change the tone of the film, like the feeling and stuff.
Because they have, I'm trying to think what was shot in a lot
Like I like
they have,
movies that are done. Like I like movies that take place over one time period that doesn't have multiple days. It's like just one day in a life moment of somebody. I like those types of movies sometimes because they're like, wow.
there is a movie that just came out that is taking place in the same day. And then I think the next morning.
Nick of Time. Yeah, Thaddeus just said Nick of Time. What's up, Thaddeus? What's up, Dr.
Hey,
Jones?
Thaddeus, Dr. Jones. I'm trying to think, but it was. I know Jalen's writing his film takes place in one day, but I swear there was another film because I was like
Yeah,
looking
there's a
at the
lot of
wardrobe.
films that take place in one
Yeah, I
day.
was looking at
Like,
the
and
wardrobe
I
and I
like
was like,
stuff like
"Oh,
that.
this takes place the same day." Okay. Oh yeah, Dr. Jones' wife is a screenwriter too. She can do a thing. A screenwriter said, "Hey, just planting that in there." Um, Scene. Okay. Instead of time difference. Okay. Locations. So listen. So listen. And we're almost done, guys. Listen. Locations. Now listen. When you're writing your script, you can't go to Costa Rica for one scene. You can't go to Colombia for two scenes.
Hmm.
You can't like you can. We're
That
talking
doesn't make
about low
sense.
budget independent. We're talking about a low budget independent film. Let's just put it like that. So you can, but it has got to be. So I have a film that I literally wrote half in America and half in Johannesburg. It's a Hallmark movie.
Hmm.
I'm like, hey, if I ever sell it to Hallmark, I don't think I would be making it because then, that's a lot. But how are you going to get your cast and crew there? Is it going to, or your main crew? Because I know all the big crew doesn't travel. But even if you're going to the beach, if if your character doesn't live near a beach and you're taking them to a beach and you're going to the beach to shoot, um, how are you going to get your cast and crew there? Uncorked, they did shoot in Paris and they shot in Mississippi. I looked at the end and I saw the Paris crew. I said, "Oh, so they did." I didn't know if they green screened it. I didn't know how
Hmm.
they did it. But when I saw the credits, they did Paris
Well,
and what you
because
call it. But
you can create that. Sometimes people shoot a lot of stuff in a foreign country and then create the other country at a studio, especially if you're doing a lot of indoor shots, right? You're not outside a
yes,
lot. Or you can still go between two locations that look similar. It always depends. And then some studios may have it built into their backlot.
yes, and that's what you want. That's the question. How are you going to get your cast and crew there? Or, like you said, how are you going to create it? Because I cannot create a Johannesburg, Africa, unless literally or Johannesburg, South Africa, unless I have somebody familiar with the culture and the surroundings to create that. I can't
Hmm.
just throw up I just can't throw up a coffee shop and say we in South Africa. I literally have to have it has to be created, but it has to be created right. You can't shoot if you shoot down the street like BMF, my friend from Detroit. She said I can always tell when the scenes that are in Atlanta, and I can always tell the scenes that are in Detroit because she's from Detroit, so she can tell
Right.
easily. So just make sure how are you going to get your cast and crew there if you're putting in a different location and how are you going to create it? So keep
Hmm.
that and that comes with the expenses because like you said, if I create it on the back lot, of course it's going to be a lot cheaper than finding the crew there or a soundstage. but you still have to pay the money to bring people in to create it. So that's why once I start getting on set as a writer, once I start getting on set, it made my writing so much better because I understood the expenses. I can't just go to Colombia for 2 days. The takedown and setup, every character. And I think we discussed this before. I'm sure we have. But you don't have to show the character in the kitchen, walking through the house, walking out the front door, walking down the driveway, getting in the car, driving in the car, pulling up to their office building, getting out the car, getting into the office building. You know how many set up and take down that is? It is time and money. So be real creative and real just smart, make moving smart. And that's what your DP and your storyboards are for, to make
Mm-hmm.
sure you're moving smart so you're not taking up all of a whole day, half a day, just to show somebody went to work.
And I think when you do those things, it has to have a purpose. Like, I don't mind you show me your characters getting in the car, driving, if something's happening when they're driving, if it creates or pushes the scene of the film forward. Because maybe they get in a car accident, they're on their way somewhere. Maybe while they be us showing them walking out the door, they forget something and they don't realize it.
Absolutely.
And they're in a rush and they get in the car and they're driving and then they realize they forgot it, but they make the worst turn possible. And, you know, it has to matter. Like, if you're going to use stuff like that, I think Rescue 911 and stuff, those kind of really give that. But remember that too, that driving a car is going to cost you a little bit if you have an accident, things like that, stunts, all that stuff.
So just make sure, like, every scene has what we just say earlier. Every scene has a purpose. So
Mhm.
if there's no purpose, you can show him walking out, getting in the car, da da da. Hey, Miss Such and Such, or whatever, getting in the car, and then he's at his desk at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I tell my
just
students, like, they could show somebody walking the hallway, going to a classroom, but I don't need to stay in the hallway for a minute to show you totally walking. I tell them, hey, why don't you cut to their feet walking down the hall, or you show their back walking down the hall, cut to their feet, cut back to their hand opening in the door, or a facial expression. Maybe they're passing by some lockers. Those shots could all take about 1.5, 2 seconds, if that. And they still get to where they're going within 10 seconds or less. And it still moves the story. What's the thing is, what's the purpose of it if you're going to do it?
absolutely, absolutely. And we're almost done, guys, with this montage. Um, Locations, proper way to write them. How many in a movie? How long? Now, just start with ABCD locations. So the way I write my montage,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you guys in a second. So how many in a movie? So when you the rule of thumb, which it's like whose rule, right? But the rule of thumb is like, don't have more than 2 or 3 montages in the movie, because then it just becomes a movie of montages. Like, it gets, you know. So how long? How long? Favorite example of how long for a montage is the movie Up. That is my favorite. That montage. Oh, and Jingle Jangle. Remember
Mm-hmm.
Jingle Jangle right at the beginning, after it was the best day of his life? Love that movie. I've watched it about five,
I
six,
think
seven
Up
times.
has the best montage though, because it
Which
hits
one?
every emotion. Up,
Up. Oh yeah,
yeah,
Up.
it hits
Yes.
every single emotion as you're watching, and then when it ends, you're like, oh,
And it
it
is, I think I looked it up, and I want to say it's like 3 minutes and 40 seconds or something like that. Um, I want to say it's like 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
it's no more than 5.
Oh,
I can tell you that it's not going
is
to
it
be any
more than
more than
five?
5.
Okay,
It's no
okay.
more than 5 is what I'm saying. Let's see,
Oh, you know what?
because I
I
use it in
forgot to.
class.
Okay, I forgot to put the inner cut. Okay, we're gonna finish up, guys, because it's almost let's see, 11,
4
18.
minutes and
Okay,
22 seconds.
4 minutes and 20, right in the middle.
I said it's
four
no more
minutes
than
and 20
5. 4 minutes 22 seconds.
and it tells the whole, basically that's the whole movie by itself, the montage. One of my favorite movies is Up. One of And it also with, of course, we didn't talk about everything in this time, but it also, if you're going to put it in the scene, If you're gonna put it in the movie, use it. So
Hmm.
like they had the tennis balls on his walker. He ended up using those for the dogs. Like
Right.
set up and pay off. That is a set up and pay off movie. I
Right.
can't.
If you're gonna
There's so
brandish a
many.
gun at some point, you're gonna use it or you're gonna have it later. And I'll give you a good example. If you ever watch Creed 3, he discovers the gun in his friend's bag. And they're driving in the
Mhm.
car, they go to this thing. You don't see it until later he's remembering the full thought of everything that happens. The friend pulls out the gun and the friend
Mm.
clicks it back. And then you see the cops immediately show up to the event. So then the gun now takes place. Then it's like, hey,
Right.
you didn't put the gun in his hand. You didn't, he had the gun. Da 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 da. You're not responsible for him. Da da da. So it's one of those things. But had you never shown the gun again, we'd be lost. Like, what was the point of that? Or is what, but it could have been a point to kind of show what kind of person he was. Also,
Right.
yeah, he was a gangster or whatever. But it had to play out later. So
Right. Set up and pay off. You like just try not to have things pop out the blue. If it's a plot twist or um Gone Girl was one of those movies, stuff just kept popping out the blue. It ended up being a great movie because it came from a book, but it was a great movie. But it was if you seen Gone Girl, that movie was crazy. But it's like stuff kept opening. Every time you thought the movie was going to end, it kept opening up to more stuff. So they didn't do a lot of setup and payoffs. They literally just did a lot of like things happening, like just things popping out the
twist.
blue.
Yeah, extra
Mhm.
twist. But
It was just a
you
whole
kind of
bunch of
saw the
twists.
twist coming because remember, I think when they found the panties in his office, right? It was like she left them there, but then because then we're like, oh yeah, he's cheating, but it's not. And then you realize she left the panties, but then we'd still realize he was cheating. Like it was still those things that still popped up. So
It was, yeah, that movie. I was like, dang, like a lot of plot twists. So that was a great plot twist movie. If you haven't seen it, Gone Girl is really good. How do this is how I write montages. I write montage Terrence and Shelby spending time together. And I put the two little dashes and I put Terrence and Shelby walk through the boardwalk. Terrence and Shelby, Terrence chases
mhm.
Shelby around as he runs with the football. Terrence and Shelby watch the stars from a rooftop of a skyscraper in the end of montage. So in the breakdown, I still have to go down when I break down the schedule. I still have to make time for these things. So if
Mhm.
there's a park nearby the house, I'll go ahead, that we scout and we're going to use. Hey, there's a park on the corner. We can do the football scene there,
Right.
or we can run to the rooftop, blah blah blah, or however we do it, or the boardwalk. There's a bridge right here with a little creek, something. So you still have to build it in when you write montages. It's not throwing a whole bunch of scenes together thinking it's simply shot. These are still scenes that have to be set up and shot, and the camera, everything has to be broken down. I think we forget that a lot of times when we're writing montages, that these are still camera set up and take down. So
Mhm.
that's why you try to make them simple and you try to make them near the other scenes. um we didn't talk about intercut, but maybe we'll do that next time. The next one, what did we talk? Oh, hold on, let me go back. Oh, am I still sharing the window? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Hold
Well,
on.
intercut, I would think of intercut to me as the a couple things, right? The phone
Oh, let me put
conversation,
it back on the
right?
screen.
Somebody's on a
um,
phone, they're talking, you're cutting between this person talking on the phone to the other person they're talking on the phone. You could also put in cutaways within the intercut where
yes.
somebody's talking on the phone, you have the phone conversation as they're talking on the phone, they could be talking about something that's about to happen. If you ever think of something like The Godfather, did he get him? Not yet. He just went there, he dropped him off. And while they're talking and intercutting, we
Right.
can see the actions of him being the person being taken out. Boom, 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 boom. And then to end the scene, hey, I'll call you back when it happens. And then it happens, then boom, things went down and they get off the phone.
Mhm.
And
Or
that's
you
it.
can just intercut scenes. You can
Yeah.
intercut three different scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You can intercut two or three different scenes. The proper way to write an intercut, though, is you have to put a slug line in, and you have to. Why is that messed up like that? You have to put a slug line in. You put the action line. Jacqueline is on her cell phone. Jacqueline, thank you so much for the call. I'll take care of it. She ends the call and yells out, "Cammy!" I see what happened. Cammy. So she yells out Cammy, and then I put another slug line in the middle of right the exterior Williams' home day. So outside of her home, Marlo pulls up in the driveway. He squirts some breath freshener in his mouth and sprays on a gallon of cologne. He chokes. Intercut Jacqueline inside the home and Marlo outside the home. And
Mm-hmm.
then I continue with the scene. Cammy appears in the living room, and then I start mixing the scenes. So as
Yeah.
I'm talking, as Jacqueline is talking to Cammy on the couch, we see Marlo walking up to the door. So while these scenes are happening, so these two scenes are intercutting each other. And then once she opens the door, it becomes the collision where she opens the door to Marlo outside. She's inside
Mm-hmm.
in intercut. Because now we're no longer intercutting the scenes
It's
because we're
one
there.
scene. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. And let me go back to the other one. So that's the intercut, but you have to introduce both areas of the intercut before you intercut the scene. And Screenwriter's Bible, hey, you know me and my dad right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Foreshadowing and flashbacks. Foreshadowing and flashbacks is kind of the same as the montages. Um, I'm sorry, foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is what we talked about, basically the setup and payoff is the
Mm-hmm.
foreshadowing. Flashbacks, kind of same as the montages. You don't want to overload your script with a whole bunch of flashbacks. Make the
Right.
flashbacks count and space them out. Make them count and space them out. If you've seen or slow reveal, I like to call like slow reveals and flashbacks. Slow reveal, law abiding citizen. If you ever seen that movie, you've seen how at first the law abiding citizen was hidden for so long, and then they'll show like the tip of the gun, and then they would show the whole gun, and then they showed him holding the gun, but you couldn't see anything but
Mm-hmm.
his outfit in the gun. You know what I mean? They started revealing piece by piece. So it was a slow reveal throughout the movie. And you can plant, once you, like I said, set up that outline and stuff, you can go in and plant those things inside your movie.
And same thing with Creed 3. Remember when they went to the liquor store and they met up with Leon, and he was beating them up because that's the guy that used to beat them up in a group home. And it was constantly
Yes.
being revealed throughout the movie. And what I did like about that movie is this. You
Yes.
saw them as kids, right? You saw them as adults and what they're going through in the setup. And then you were seeing them as kids as things were revealing their internal emotional and pain. And once they got in that boxing ring, when they both sat down, they show you as first them as little kids. They saw each other as kids, and you see it
Yeah.
when they're sitting in that ring, and then the ring is clear with nobody in it, and they're boxing. And I was like, man, if they could have just had the kids boxing every once in a while, it'd have been a different thing. Right?
That would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said those types of setups could work very well in building up with those flashbacks. Because there's just one flashback. It was the beating up Leon at the store. And
Exactly.
what it impacted with him getting caught, him running down the street, those things came to play. So
Exactly. So there's so many good examples, and there's so much, it's so much fun, the screenwriting, especially when you're creating, and you guys know this, and putting together the story to film. Mental issues. I think I added that because that was in a consultation I did. But the mental issues, playing off a man called Otto.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't seen Silver Linings. I do need to watch that movie. That's on my list, Silver Linings. But A Man Called Otto. And remember, you were like, he has Asperger's. I was like, I didn't even pick. I know he was different. I didn't pick up on the Asperger's, but A Man Called Otto. I was like, what? This movie doesn't look like anything. Like, why would I want to watch it? The trailer doesn't look.
Yeah. Man Called Otto is a really good movie. He got the new movie Here. Remember I told you camera stays in one location? The entire movie
Yeah.
is called Here is the movie. So I'm
Yes,
looking forward
I
to
pulled
seeing
that
that
up.
movie because I want to see how that plays out, how that looks. Ow. Ooh, Charlie horse. Sorry. Bent leg.
No problem.
But
And
yeah.
one more example I want to give on the time lapse. If you have not seen Flaming Hot, number one, I recommend you watch it. It is a very good movie, but they did a time lapse scene in there that was so brilliant. It was a 10-year time lapse scene, and he was mopping
Mhm.
the floor. And while he was mopping the floor, boxes were going behind, like a box would go behind him that said 1996. Then like a forklift would come by and it had something that said 1997. And then he wiped the floor and it said 1998. And then something would happen. I'm telling you, it was like a 10-year time lapse in like 30 seconds, the way they did it. It was the neatest, it was the most creative thing. So being creative with all of this and making sure it shows up on the script as well as in the movie. So anyway, it is 11:30, and that
Mhm.
was scripts. Of course, you can email us about any other scripts, and we're going to talk. That is Dr. Jones about having his wife come on to talk script talk as well. So, any questions? Let us know. What you got, Michael?
Um, I'm just saying, take some time, write some small scripts. I always tell people, take a scene. A scene has conflict, beginning, middle, end, and write scenes and film them and see how they play out and come out. And you may have a short film or you just may have a scene, but you're building your script writing skills and you're also building your filmmaking skills because you're seeing it all play out after you've done it. Maybe you get with some actors and help them do their demo reel using those scenes, but you're improving your skill set. And then use all those skills. Like if you're going to work on dialogue, and take that time, just work on a scene of improving dialogue and subtext. If you're going to work on making montages, take that time. Just do montages. Don't worry about the dialogue. Just, and do
Like a
the
silent
action.
film.
Yeah, make a silent film. Do everything you can do to practice those skill sets. And then they'll help you with your writing. Because even if you just write and get a friend or somebody to go film it, then you know how it's playing out, right? And then then you're learning the process of scheduling, planning. So yeah, this is why the one part I do like about filmmaking and script writing, if you do it, it helps you go through the process in small chunks until you can build your stamina up to make a feature if you aren't at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So that is mine. And as always, ours is be strategic, intentional, and authentic. That is the Black Filmmakers Lounge way. So we appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you, TK, for teaching class today because it was in session. And hey, thank you for joining the Black Filmmakers Lounge Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, and my host, Tamira TK Henderson, for giving us such a wonderful education on script writing. And I hope you guys learned something. We try to make sure we do this once a year. To refresh you, we will actually do some more next week or week coming about putting and preparing. And so, because we really want to help you get on with your next project. And for those who need a refresher or for those who say, hey, I've learned this skill along the way, go ahead and make sure you share in the comments. We thank you. Like, subscribe, share, join our YouTube channel, Facebook channel, Instagram, and remember, follow our Black Filmmakers Lounge website at www.blackfilmmakerslounge.com. And we enjoy y'all. We love y'all. And we talk to you later. Peace. Have a good weekend. Go shoot something.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Out.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Share what?
Share.
We love y'all.